When a little girl dials the wrong number, an incredible 1 billion lives are suddenly changed forever. It was a dreary, rain-soaked afternoon as the sky wept over the working-class suburb. Mia, a 10-year-old with wild imagination and dreams bigger than the clouds, sat by her tiny bedroom window. Her heart ached for excitement, something to shatter the mundane cycle of school and chores. Her mom worked 2 jobs, juggling long hours to keep food on the table, leaving Mia feeling like a ghost haunting her own life. Today was different. The weight of the gray sky pressed down on her. She needed an outlet, a spark. With a worn-out phone in her hand, Mia thought of her beloved grandma, the woman who filled her with stories of grand adventures and never-ending possibilities. With a quick tap, she dialed her grandmother's number, but in her haste, she messed up. Instead of her grandma's familiar voice, a deep, charismatic laugh resonated through the speaker. "Hello? Sam here." Mia blinked, her heart racing. Sam? Who was this? It wasn't Grandma at all. Sorry, I think I called the wrong number," she stammered. "Not at all. I'm always happy for a chat. What's your name?" Mia hesitated but felt drawn to his warmth. "It's Mia," she replied, curiosity bubbling inside her. To her surprise, they talked, exchanged dreams, and soon, she was pouring her heart out about her school. Outdated computers barely working, teachers stretched thin, and how it felt to watch hope slip away like the rain outside. "Wow, Mia, that's tough," Sam said, his voice sincere and thoughtful. "But you sound passionate about change." An urge sparked in her. "Yeah, but I don't know how. It just feels like we're stuck and there are kids who deserve better." "Maybe we can change that together," Sam replied, stirred by her spirit. A connection ignited that crossed the boundary of age and circumstance. It felt electric. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks, and their unlikely bond flourished. Sam worked tirelessly to design a community initiative to bring modern technology to local schools, but he got bogged down with meetings and corporate red tape. Each call for funding felt like throwing a pebble into the ocean. No sound, no ripple, but Mia wasn't about to sit back and watch. With her newfound voice, she rallied her friends and parents at the community center. "We deserve better. We can stand for our education," she declared, the fire in her belly pushing her feet forward. Laughter mixed with murmurs of doubt filled the room, but Mia pressed on, igniting dreams among dreamers. However, frustrations mounted. Decisions dragged, funding felt far away, and they grappled with more than machines. They fought the chains of inequality. Amidst this whirlwind, challenges loomed large. The initiative sparked conversation, yes. But could it really shift the tide? As the rain fell harder that day, Mia found herself staring into the unknown, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. Could one little girl really change the world? The sound of heavy rain tapping against the window echoed Mia's heartbeat. She leaned against the frame, staring into the stormy horizon, her mind racing with thoughts of doubt. Was all this effort worth it? Just then, her phone vibrated on the table, jolting her from her reverie. It was an unknown number. Taking a deep breath, she answered. "Hello? Mia. It's Sam." His voice burst through, infused with energy that made her sit up straighter. "I've got big news." "What is it?" she asked, her pulse quickening. "I contacted Congress. I sent them your ideas about the community tech initiative, and guess what? They want to hear from you directly. They're interested." Mia's heart soared, but her cheeks flushed with fear. "Me? But I'm just a kid." "No, you're not just a kid. You're the voice of a generation that deserves to be heard. This is your moment." A fire ignited within her, burning the clouds of doubt away. What do I need to do? Just be yourself. Share your vision. Speak from the heart, it's all you need, Sam encouraged. Mia clenched the phone as excitement mingled with anxiety. Was she ready for this? She shook her head, trying to clear her mind, but another thought popped in. What if she said something wrong? What if they laughed? She took a deep breath, grounding herself. Okay, I'll do it. Great. The meeting is this Thursday. We're going to make waves, Sam replied, and she could sense his smile even through the phone. As they hung up, Mia felt both exhilarated and terrified. It was like standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure if she could fly or would fall. She rushed downstairs, bursting into the kitchen. Mom! You won't believe what I just heard. Her mom looked up from the sink, wiping her hands on a dish rag. What is it, sweetie? I'm going to present my ideas to Congress. I can really make a difference. Her mom's expression brightened, but slowly transformed into a frown. Mia, that's wonderful, but it sounds really serious. Are you sure you're ready? The doubt crept back in. What if they don't listen? What if I mess up? Just remember why you started this. You're fighting for change that matters. Don't lose sight of that. Mia nodded, but her heart still raced with uncertainty. As they spoke, the rain outside softened, as if the world paused to let her breathe. The days crawled by. Wednesday night, she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Words swirled in her mind, but they felt heavy, like stones in her chest. The more she thought about it, the more pressure built. What if she let everyone down? What if nothing changed? In the morning, Mia stood before the bathroom mirror, her reflection staring back at her with a mix of determination and fear. You can do this, she whispered. She practiced the speech, but each time, the words felt like they slipped further away, like rainwater running through her fingers. Thursday arrived, and she dressed carefully, each button a reminder of her resolve. Her heart thudded in her chest as Sam picked her up. The drive felt like eternity, filled with anxious silence. When they arrived, the building loomed ahead, tall and imposing. Sam encouraged her, this is your moment. Remember to breathe. As they walked toward the entrance, a sudden flash of movement caught Mia's eye. A group of kids, all with determined expressions, gathered in front of a large banner that read "Invest in our future." Her thoughts of fear diminished. If they could stand together, so could she, but just when she thought all would be well, a commotion broke out. A loud argument erupted among the protesters, and Mia's stomach dropped. She barely heard Sam call her name before the crowd shifted violently. What did they want? And could her moment still shine through the chaos? Mia's heart raced as she stepped closer to the unfolding crowd, feeling a tingle of dread mixed with the urge to fight for what she believed in. The clash became louder. No. She thought. Not now. But as she took a deep breath, she realized she was on the edge of something life-changing. It was time to step forward. But what awaited her was beyond anything she imagined. The true battle for change was about to begin. Would she have the strength to face it? The crowd surged forward, voices rising in a chaotic symphony of shouts and chants. Mia felt a wave of nausea wash over her as she pushed through the mass of bodies. Time seemed to slow, each heartbeat echoing in her ears. This is it, she thought, while grasping the delicate threads of her resolve. Sam's hand found her shoulder, anchoring her in the swirling storm of noise. Stay close, he murmured, his voice barely above the clamor. We need to find out what's going on. They nudged into a pocket of space, where a young girl with fiery hair clutched a megaphone, her face flushed with passion. We demand a voice in our future. She cried, her eyes ablaze with determination. Around her, the crowd roared with agreement. Drumming fists and flailing placards filled her view, and the electric energy gripped Mia like a vice. Then she spotted an older man, hurling insults at the girl, a huge man who towered over the children, his arms crossed defiantly. You're just kids. What do you know about the real world? He boomed, his voice cutting like glass. Mia felt a sharp jab of anger stab through her confusion. The older man represented everything she fought against: a dismissive attitude towards youth, a wall against change. Her heart pounded louder. Had he not heard what they were saying? She pulled away from Sam's grip, steeling herself. No more, she whispered. Wait. Sam hissed, but Mia was already moving forward, adrenaline igniting her legs. The moment pressed against her, a strange mix of fear and courage bubbling within. As she stepped onto a low platform, her trembling hands gripped the edge. She could feel the crowd shift, eyes turning to her. Her voice caught at first, and the weight of expectation rushed over her. I may not know everything, but what I do know is that our voices matter. We're the future. You guys are right to fight for your future. Gasps rippled through the crowd, just before a wave of encouragement surged back at her. Sam's face flared with alarm as the older man turned his furious gaze to her. Who do you think you are? He barked, the authority in his voice belying the weight of his words. Mia's heart raced. Regardless, she pushed harder. I'm Mia. I'm just a kid, yes, but we have ideas and dreams. We're not just leaving this world for you to ruin. Don't you care about what we inherit? The question fell heavy in the air. Mia noticed the older man's expression waver. A flicker of uncertainty slipped through his steely resolve as he took a step back. Loud murmurs filled the air, and for a moment, the chaos seemed to dissolve. Eyes darted from her to the man, and she realized she had struck a chord. Could it be? Just then, an ear-splitting sound erupted: police sirens. The crowd froze, uncertainty taking hold as anxiety swept through the gathered voices. Sam grabbed Mia's arm, eyes wide. Mia, this could change everything. But the crowd dispersed into a chaotic frenzy as the police vehicles pulled up. Disappointment clawed at Mia. She felt their words were about to be drowned in fear. No! She shouted, her voice cracking. We can't let them silence us. As officers stepped out, ready to control the crowd, Mia faced them head-on, her heart racing. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. But at that moment, she knew she had to hold her ground. That if she backed down now, what did it mean for her future or the future of her peers? This was the moment she'd been waiting for, her chance to ignite change, and she could feel it rushing through her, urging her to speak louder. Would she risk everything to ensure her voice was heard? Would she stand strong against an authority that wanted to silence her? As the uncertainty thickened, Mia clenched her fists, preparing to fight for not just her future, but for all of them. The sirens blared louder, but she was ready. This was not the end, it was just the beginning. The chaos erupted around Mia like a thunderstorm. She could feel the piercing gazes of the police officers cutting through her like knives. They glanced at their surroundings, assessing the situation as if ready to pounce. Fear ricocheted through the crowd, a tidal wave threatening to drown her courage. Mia, come on. Sam tugged at her arm, desperation in his voice. But she was anchored, her feet planted solidly on the wooden platform. We need to do something. Don't let them scare you. He cried, but she was already building momentum. Please. We are the future. She shouted at the approaching officers, each word more potent than the last. We have a right to be heard. A ripple of energy surged through the crowd. Some began echoing her words, the chants swelling with new life. Spirits soared in the air, a collective roar that broke through the suffocating tension. Yet, even beneath the strength of their voices, she felt a disquiet. Can this rally even reach the officers? One of the officers, a woman with steely determination etched in her features, stepped forward, her presence demanding attention. You need to disperse. She commanded, her tone cold. You're blocking the street and endangering yourselves. No. We're standing up for what's right. Mia responded, a flicker of defiance flaring in her chest. The officer's gaze sharpened, and a hint of surprise flashed across her brow. I understand your passion, but we have procedures, she declared, crossing her arms. Her voice was firm, unyielding against the tide of youthful zeal. Mia could feel the crowd's hope suspended in the air, teetering on the edge of fear and courage. Their determination resonated within her, but the weight of authority was heavy. They were just kids, and to many, she was just another voice to be dismissed. Procedures? Mia pressed, adrenaline fueling her words. What if the procedures hurt us? What if you only enforce rules that hurt your community? We're here because we care, and we want to transform the future. A murmur spread through the crowd, sowing seeds of resolve. She caught glimpses of nods and sparks of understanding written on the faces around her. Could she really be forging a new path? Then a commotion broke out behind the police officers. Men in suits began to emerge from the parked vehicles, their presence commanding respect, a stark contrast to the raw passion of the crowd. They looked serious, assessing the scene with piercing eyes. "Mia!" Sam shouted, panic creeping back into his voice. "We need to get out of here. They're bringing backup." But she was seized by a surge of defiance. She couldn't let fear shift her away. Wherever this would lead, this was the moment they would confront authority. As the suited men gathered, they began to confer quietly, clearly debating their next move. The crowd shuffled uneasily, anticipation building, pushing against Mia, their energy escalating along with her heartbeat. Suddenly, the megaphone-wielding girl from before stepped back up next to Mia, emboldened with a fire that mirrored her own. "We won, back down," she shouted, raising her arm, a rallying cry that reverberated in the air. "This is our time. We deserve to be heard." Mia locked eyes with Sam one last time. There was fear, yes, but also pride. She had ignited something. But would it be enough? Without warning, one of the suited men stepped forward, facing the crowd, his voice booming. "We will not stand for this insubordination." His tone dripped with authority, chilling the air around them. Mia's heart raced as uncertainty crackled. What were they prepared to do? Would they silence her voice, or could she rally her peers to stand strong? The next moment could change everything, and she had no idea how deep this rabbit hole would go. As the tension heightened, Mia felt the ground beneath her begin to tremor, unaware that this was only the beginning of an escalating confrontation. Would she be able to inspire them to fight for their future? Would their voices echo in halls of power, or be snuffed out before they truly began? The next move was imminent, and Mia was ready to face whatever came next, but at what cost? The moment crackled with tension, the air thick as if charged by an impending storm. All eyes turned to the man in the suit, his piercing gaze sweeping over the crowd like a predator sizing up its prey. His jaw was tight, and the crowd shifted restlessly beneath his glare. "What happens next is entirely in your hands," he said, voice low, almost a whisper that carried a warning. "You can walk away now, or face the consequences." His words hung like a guillotine blade, poised to drop. Mia's heart pounded like a drum, each beat a reminder that this was no longer just a protest. It was a high-stakes moment, a collision between youthful fervor and hard-nosed authority, and she felt every single person around her holding their breath. "Walk away?" Sam gasped, leaning closer to her. "Are you kidding me? A real fight is here, Mia." But as he spoke, uncertainty rippled through Mia. The crowd, once roaring with enthusiasm, now looked hesitant, caught between the fire of their conviction and the chill of fear rolling off the officer's looming presence. "Together we are strong," shouted the megaphone girl again, trying to revitalize the fading energy. "Remember why we're here." A few voices joined hers, timid at first, but then swelling in strength, pushing back against the looming threat. "We won, back down," they cried. The earlier passion flickered like a barely lit candle in the wind. Mia clenched her fists at her sides, fighting back the tremble. "Look around. We have the power. This is our city, our future. They want us to be silent, and we want to let that happen." Each word felt like a lifeline, tethering her to the hope surging around her. The suited man's expression hardened. "Enough of this childish rebellion. You think you've got the power? You don't know what you're up against. Authorities don't negotiate with ruffians." His words sent a chill racing down Mia's spine. Ruffians? It felt like a dagger plunged into the heart of their cause. Did they really see them as nothing more than troublemakers? Anger ignited inside her, blazing brighter than any pang of fear. "Ruffians?" she shouted back. "We're not here to cause trouble, we're demanding change. We're fighting for our rights." With her words echoing into the electric silence, Mia noticed glimpses of agreement among the crowd. People straightened, some even stepping forward. Their faces softened with understanding they had more strength than they knew. Suddenly, a loud crash pierced the air, snapping the moment into a harsh reality. A bottle whizzed past, shattering against the wall where the officers stood. Gasps erupted. Chaos reigned. Panic rippled through the crowd like an electric shock. "Mia, we need to run." Sam shouted over the rising noise, tugging at her arm again, but this time the fear in his voice was replaced by something darker. Urgency. No, she thought. This couldn't end like this. Not like this. Stay together. Stay strong. She yelled, writing her urgency across the faces of her peers. They were still there, still with her. They needed a leader, and despite the fear gnawing at her insides, Mia clenched her jaw and stood tall, but not all were willing to stand brave. Shifts began in the crowd, some breaking away towards safety, and a wave of doubt crashed against her fervor. What if it all crumbled? Sam's voice cracked just as fear shifted into something else, something moving towards the looming mass of officers. In that moment, she realized it wasn't just fear that had taken root in them, it was survival instinct, a fight-or-flight reaction bubbling to the surface. The suited man raised his hands. "This is your last chance. Disperse now, or face the consequences." Mia swallowed hard, heart racing wildly. She faced the crowd. "Together, we can confront this. We can change it right here, right now. Will you stand with me?" The crowd hesitated, eyes flickering between her and the officers. The call for unity clashed against the fear of repercussions. Then, just as the murmurs began to transform, an officer raised her baton, and chaos erupted once more. Trees swayed, and the world around them began to dissolve into a panorama of panic. Was it too late? Could they hold the line? Every pulse of her heart screamed for resolve, but the answer remained shrouded in uncertainty. Would they fight together, or would the crushing weight of authority break them apart? With everything hanging in the air, one last clash was imminent, and Mia was ready to push through it all, even if the terrible cost loomed close. The chaos exploded like fireworks in the night sky. Mia's words hung heavy, indecision warping into outright panic as the officer's baton sliced through the air. The crowd erupted, some surged forward in defiance, while others scrambled backward, seeking safety, their faces a mixture of horror and disbelief. The suited man stepped deeper into their space, shoulders squared, embodying unwavering authority. "You've chosen your path," he warned, eyes darkening, as if daring them to take the next step. The air pulsed with a blend of adrenaline and dread. "Mia, we have to go now." Sam pulled at her, urgency lacing his words. But the thrill of rebellion coursed through her veins, igniting a flame she couldn't ignore. "I can't," she started, but another loud crash cut her off. A barrage of bottles followed, punctuating the air like artillery fire. Some shattered against the officers like stones against glass. Fear gripped her heart anew. "Stand tall. Don't give in," Mia shouted, though her voice faltered as she gauged the writhing crowd. Their spirits were bleeding, determination wrestled with sheer terror for control of their minds. Suddenly, something rocketed toward the officers. A riot control dog sprang forward, its fierce growl reverberating through the chaos. The suited man merely smirked, still in calm command, completely unfazed. The first shot rang out. A flash of light, a booming sound, splitting through the air like a thunderclap. Gunfire? No, tear gas. Clouds of pungent, choking smoke billowed around them. "Get down." Mia flung herself to the ground, heart racing, instincts firing all at once. Around her, the crowd erupted into a cacophony of shouts and cries, everyone scrambling for cover. Sam was close by, but the chaos twisted them apart as people shoved each other in their desperate bids to escape. Mia's cheeks burned as the gas invaded her lungs, tearing through her resolve. She gasped, clawing at the gritty dirt beneath her. Even in the madness, she felt an unyielding pull from within. She had to be their anchor, their voice. "Don't let fear win. We fight for what's right." She screamed, but but her voice seemed to wilt in the choking air. A figure loomed in the haze, charging toward her, fierce and determined. It was the megaphone girl. "We can't give up," she cried, eyes wild, igniting sparks of courage, but amidst the eruption of fear and confusion, Mia caught glimpses of despair. Friends tripped, falling down as they were engulfed by panic. She felt the weight of their choices resting on her shoulders, and doubt gnawed at her resolve once more. The suited man stepped back, seemingly relishing the pandemonium, steadier than ever, while chaos spun wildly. "This is what happens when you refuse to listen. Now you'll really experience the consequences," he boomed, his words like heavy stones falling into a churning sea. Panic brushed against the edges of her mind. Could they find a way through? Was there still a chance for everyone to come together in this chaos? "Mia." Sam's voice cut through the confusion, and she turned to see him struggling against a wave of people. "Focus. We can't back down." But even as she spoke, uncertainty weighed heavily on her heart. Would the passion they once shared be drowned under the oppression of fear? As she stood, smoke curling around her, sizzling strands of hope weaved through her terror. The crowd was shifting, but not all were fleeing. Some were rallying, rising from the ground like phoenixes from ASH.in that moment. Hope clashed vividly against despair, and a new thought clawed its way into Mia's consciousness. What if fear wasn't the end? What if it was just the beginning? Every instinct screamed for her to act. With one collective cry surging up from deep within, the multitude gathered again, finding strength from one another. But unfamiliar shadows loomed behind them, growing larger as they formed a blockade, ready to strike. Mia's heart thundered, the clash of hope and dread wrapping around her like a serpent. They were on the precipice. Would they tip into despair, or would they fight, ignite? Something that even the man in the suit couldn't dampen. In that moment, she locked eyes with Sam, a silent promise forming between them, as the next wave rolled in, and everything shifted again. Mia's shout shattered the chaos, but her words barely pierced the thick veil of smoke swirling around her. The crowd stumbled, gasping for breath like fish pulled from water, their faces a mask of fear and grit. The moment hung like a tightrope, each heartbeat echoing louder, and she could feel that familiar spark of courage beginning to ignite in her chest. "Together," she yelled, desperation pushing her voice above the roiling mass. A handful of resolute faces turned to her. Fueled by courage, they began to chant, a mantra of defiance blooming among the choking despair. "We stand. We fight." But the suited man was unyielding, a dark storm looming above them. "Silence," he bellowed, and with a single motion, he gestured behind him. The officers tightened their grip on their batons, eyes narrowing as they prepared to strike, their patience thinner than the air saturated with gas. "Mia, to the right!" Sam shouted, pulling on her arm just as they seemed to become a single unit, two souls moving against the tide. She stumbled, her vision blurred by gas and chaos, but the grasp of his hand anchored her. They ducked into a narrow alley between buildings, folding into the shadows that were mercifully untouched by the tumult outside. Coughing, Mia tried to catch her breath, her legs shaking. "We won win like this," she gasped, eyes darting back to the madness beyond. "There has to be a way to turn them against him." Sam nodded, fear painted across his features. "There's an old radio station near here. I think if we get the word out, show them the truth." His voice trailed off, as if he could already see the hope radiating back into the crowd. Right. The idea formed quick in her mind. If they could connect with others, share what was happening, maybe they'd harness a larger pushback against the dark confidence of the suited man. "Let us go." The two bolted through the alley, every footfall filled with determination. Behind them, the chaos pulsed like a wounded beast, the crowd's cries mingling with the shouts of officers. Each twist and turn in the streets felt like a maze designed to delay them, but they pressed on, fear morphing into steely resolve. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out. The sheer pop shattered the immediate tension, followed by frantic shouts. Mia felt the adrenaline freeze her veins. Too close. They ducked into another alley just as people rushed by, a frantic wave of bodies propelled by terror. The scent of sweat and fear was thick, and somewhere in the chaos, Mia could hear the distant cries of the megaphone girl rallying the remaining souls. "Can you hear that?" Sam strained, a triumphant glint in his eyes even amid the chaos. "They're not done. They still believe." As they veered closer to their destination, they reached a street corner where the remains of an old radio station loomed like a forgotten relic. The sign was faded, its paint peeling, but inside, they could still see dim lights flickering. Time was ticking, and breakout moments danced in the air like fireflies just out of reach. "Here." Sam pointed toward the front door, his brow knit with urgency. They rushed inside, the heavy wooden door creaking ominously behind them. Mia's heart raced as a chill swallowed her whole. Before she could gather her thoughts, they stood in a room cluttered with dusty equipment. A control panel dominated the space, the flickering lights casting shadows that flickered like warnings on the walls. "Help me find a working mic," Sam shouted, already sifting through debris, urgency radiating from his every pore. But as Mia combed through the gathered chaos, an uneasy feeling gripped her. They weren't alone. She could sense the shadows merging into something more, something that could strike at any moment. Then Sam's voice broke again. "Found one. But we need to connect to the frequency before a crash echoed from outside." The suited man was getting closer. Sweat dripped down Mia's brow as she stared into Sam's eyes, a wordless acknowledgement passing between them. It wasn't just about them anymore. The fight was for every person still facing the turmoil beyond the walls, but would they be ready when the time came to fight back? As high-pitched shouts filled the air, Mia felt the walls close in, and she knew she was just moments away from finding out whether their small stance against tyranny could turn the tide before it was too late. Mia's heart raced like a drum in her chest, each thud echoing against the tension that thickened the air around her. The room, once a quiet relic of the past, now vibrated with the urgency of the current moment. Sam's hands deftly twisted knobs and fiddled with wires that looked as ancient as the dust coating the floor. Come on, he urged, his voice a mix of hope and fear. The distant chaos outside felt like a wave crashing against a fragile dam. She leaned closer, scanning the myriad of controls, overwhelmed by the complexity of it all. Shadows danced around a flickering light, turning every corner into a potential hiding spot for the threat approaching. That a loud bang resounded from the entrance, making the ground almost tremble beneath her. Mia felt the icy grip of panic clutch her throat. What if they find us first? Sam, lost in concentration, didn't answer. Instead, he flipped yet another switch, and static erupted from the speakers like a storm breaking loose. The crackling noise intertwined with the cries from the streets, a dissonance that seemed to amplify her anxiety. Stay focused, she whispered to herself, trying to ignore the urgency brewing outside. Her eyes darted around the room, seeking something, anything that could help them. Got it! Sam exclaimed suddenly, his delight nearly tangible. He had found the right frequency, and within heartbeats, his fingers danced over the controls, ready to broadcast. Wait! She shot up her hand, her chest tightening as the sound of crushing footsteps reverberated through the old wooden door. We have to be quick, they're almost here. With a nod, Sam pressed a button, and the static faded into silence, replaced by a hum that anchored her heart. The power of their voices could soon flow through these old wires and out into the chaos. Mia wasn't just afraid of the suited man, she feared the very fabric of hope slipping away. Are you ready? He asked, his eyes wide with determination. Let us do it. She replied, summoning every ounce of resolve buried inside her. They both leaned closer to the microphone that stood like a beacon in front of them. For a moment, it felt like they were souls preparing to leap into the unknown together, going beyond their comfort zones for the greater good. People out there. Mia's voice trembled with desperation but resolved into strength. You're not alone. We need to fight. Together, we can turn the tide against this injustice. The static hissed again, and for a split second, she thought she heard a reply. Her heart soared. Someone was listening. They had a chance. Mia, this is it. Sam exclaimed, urgency threading through his voice. We need to reach them before he shuts us down. She could hear the murmurs of the crowd outside, the tension building like a coiled spring, waiting for the right moment to release. The cries now had a distinct note of determination, stifled but present. There was rage out there, not just fear. Suddenly, the door burst open, and the suited man stormed inside, flanked by officers whose faces twisted with malice. "You think this will change anything?" he sneered, his piercing gaze landing on Mia and Sam, raw fury igniting the room around them like a match to gasoline. The room turned into a battlefield in an instant. Sam pushed Mia back, an instinctual reaction, but they both knew the stakes. Their voices could rally the scattered souls outside. She felt a deep pang of adrenaline as the man stepped closer, his presence suffocating like a thick fog, but even as fear threatened to drown her, something lit within Mia. They had to fight for the others. She had to stand her ground. Before the suited man could demand silence, she jumped back to the mic and shouted, "Fight back. Don't listen to him. We have the power to take back our lives. Rise up." The din outside grew louder, voices intertwined like a cacophony of rebellion. And then, just as the suited man reached for them, static erupted, drowning out his threats. A wave of sound, relentless and alive, pulsed through the speaker. Could it be? Was that hope rushing back with the pulse of the crowd? In that moment, the horizon blurred, washing over them with the chaos of war. Would their message be enough to inspire courage against the looming darkness? As the shadows closed in, the future balanced on a razor's edge. All Mia could think was, would hope win, or would they fall to silence? The instant the static erupted and drowned out the suited man's threats, a deafening roar filled the room. Mia knew they had tapped into something bigger than themselves. The voices outside were alive, a swell of emotion that shook the walls. Mia felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The suited man stumbled forward, momentarily thrown off by the loud noise. Sam seized that opportunity, shoving the receiver closer to Mia. "Say more," he urged, his eyes shimmering with intensity. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding as if it would burst. "Listen," she shouted into the mic, her voice amplified, trembling with both fear and adrenaline. "This is Mia, and you are not alone. They want to silence us, but we can be heard. Together, we can stand up to them." Outside, the crowd roared in a collective acknowledgement. The hard thud of booted feet on pavement joined their rallying cries. It was a symphony of defiance that sent chills racing down Mia's spine. "Keep going," Sam cried, fingers twitching over the buttons, adjusting the frequency as if channeling more strength through the wires. "I believe in you," she called out. "I know we are afraid, but we are stronger together. Don't let fear rule our lives any longer." The suited man, regaining his composure, barked an order to the officers. "Shut them down." But his command was lost in the swelling crescendo of hope. The crowd outside erupted into a chant, "Rise up! Rise up!" Mia felt the surge of rebellion drumming in her veins. With each word she spoke, every encouragement she sent out, they notched closer to something monumental. The people out there were listening, awakening, fueled by the shared pain and steadfast spirit that knew no bounds. Suddenly, a loud crash resonated from outside. Mia's stomach dropped. Had something gone wrong? Was the crowd being met with violence? She shot a glance at Sam, their eyes locking in mutual fear. "Keep broadcasting," she whispered. "Don't stop." But before he could press the button again, the suited man lunged forward, his strong hands gripping the mic, his face twisted in fury. "You think this will change anything? You have no idea who you're fighting against." Mia felt a surge of fury. "We know exactly who we're fighting," she shouted, fighting against his strength, wrestling for control of the microphone. "We're fighting for our lives." In that moment, she caught a glimpse of the crowd beyond, surging like tidal waves, faces filled with determination and anger, eyes glittering with purpose. They were all in this fight together. The suited man's grip tightened, and with a violent tug, he ripped the mic from Mia's hands. The electronic feedback screeched, making both their ears ring. Her heart sank. "No!" she gasped, her voice almost a whisper. But Sam didn't back down. He dove for the console, fingers flying over the buttons, desperately trying to reconnect. "We can't let him take this from us," he shouted over the noise. Mia stood frozen, watching, heart racing. Hope hung in the air like a fragile thread. It was now or never. Just as the suited man began to speak, attempting to drown out their message with threats, the crowd outside grew silent. An unexpected calm swept over the chaos, and under that calm, something whispered a feeling, a yearning for connection and change. "Fight back." Mia screamed again, but this time, she added, "for those who can't." The silence shattered, replaced by a unified roar from the crowd outside. The walls shook, and the power of their gathering surged toward the building like a flood. Suddenly, a surge of electricity shot through the speakers, and the microphone sparked back to life, broadcasting a pulse of raw energy that rattled the very air they breathed. Mia took a step back. "Sam!" she shouted, but her voice was drowned out as the crowd ignited with a fever pitch, chanting once more, "We are the change." The suited man's smug confidence began to crumble, his eyes darting around the room as if searching for a way out. Was this the shift they had been desperately hoping for? But amidst the tumult, Mia couldn't shake the chill creeping up her spine. What else had they unleashed in powering their voice? As the energy enveloped them, transforming fear into undeniable strength, the doors suddenly burst open again, but this time a figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, a child, small and brave, clutching a phone tightly in her hands. "Mommy!" the little girl cried, and all their eyes turned toward her, a haunting gasp escaping the assembled crowd. What had the girl done? What thread of fate were they now pulling? Mia's heart plummeted. She knew this was only the beginning. The realization crashed down on Mia like the weight of the world. The little girl in the doorway, with bright eyes shining through the haze of confusion, was an embodiment of innocence and courage. The crowd fell silent as if the very air was holding its breath, the tension suspended in an electric moment. The suited man's facade crumbled even further, his gaze flicking to the child, anger mixing with something else, fear, perhaps? "Mommy!" the little girl called again, her voice small yet powerful, echoing in the hearts of everyone present. Mia felt a pang deep in her chest. This was the very thing they had all fought for. For kids like her, for futures that should never be clouded by fear and intimidation. "Stop. Please." She didn't even recognize the sound of her own voice as she shouted. A surge of urgency shot through her. "We're here for her. We're here for all of them." And just like that, the rallying heartbeat of the crowd began to swell. More voices joined in, echoing her purpose as people slowly remembered the cause that had propelled them to this moment. "Together!" shouted the megaphone girl, stepping forward and surrounding the little girl with her own presence. Now, they were a united front, defiance clashing against the suited man's authority. Mia felt her heart pounding louder with each chant that reverberated through the walls. "We are the future. We are the change." A ripple of determination surged through the crowd, an unstoppable force gathering momentum. The suited man recoiled, shock glimmering in his eyes. "You think this is a game? You think you can win? You're just children." "No." Mia shouted back, her resolve coiling tighter than ever. "We are not just children. We are dreamers, we are fighters, we are the hope against your oppression." With each word, the crowd behind her roared back in unity. "Hope. Change. Together. What do you think you can do with your little chance? Your voices?" He spat, recoiling, but behind him, the officers seemed to hesitate, uncertainty creeping into their ranks as they regarded the tide of hope rising before them. Mia stepped forward. This was the moment. The child at the door needed a protector, and so did every soul before her. "We're here to demand justice and equality. We won't bow down to fear anymore. Stand with us," she implored, her voice rising above the chaos, as the air thickened with the exhilarating prospect of change. Suddenly, the crowd erupted with a new chant, a wave of passion swelling high above their collective hopes. "Together. Together." In that very instant, the barrier of authority cracked wide open. Officers shifted, glancing uncertainly at each other, their confidence waning as Mia's voice carried like thunder. Yes. They were positioned at a pivotal moment, and beneath her skin buzzed a profound sense of possibility. Then, the unexpected happened. A few officers began to step back, shaking their heads, their hardened visages softening in the face of the children's resolute spirit. The moment felt surreal, as if time folded in on itself. Mia locked eyes with Sam, their silent determination a bond stronger than fear. From the crowd, someone stepped forward, an older woman, tired but proud, who had quietly joined the fray. I stand with them. I believe in their power, she declared, her voice ringing like a bell. If they stand, then so do we. A ripple of truth spread like wildfire. More adults stepped forward, rallying behind the youth. All around her, signs were raised, voices united in defiance against the oppressive winds. As the crowd's heartbeat thrummed in unison, Mia felt weight lift from her shoulders. The suited man watched in disbelief as the authority he flaunted began to slip through his fingers. With an angry huff, he retreated toward the door. The power he once commanded was unraveling, scattering among the very people he tried to keep down. This isn't over, he shouted, but the crowd's orbit of hope had shifted too far for him to pull back. The officers began to stand tall with the children, and the shadows receded. Mia took a deep breath, feeling emotional and fatigued yet electrified. She glanced at the little girl, who now stood firm beside the megaphone girl, their tiny hearts echoing the strength of the adults around them. We did it, Mia whispered to Sam. The roar that followed was deafening, shaking their souls alive as the chant of "We are the change" rolled through the air, punctuated by joyous tears and ecstatic shouts. It wasn't just about this heated moment, it was a movement, a tide of hope crashing against the shores of oppression. Above them, skies began to break. Light filtered through clouds that had once felt so heavy, and with it came the promise of a new dawn. They had opened a door, and beyond it lay possibilities once thought unreachable. Change was now a living force, woven through every voice raised against the silence. Mia gripped Sam's hand with newfound strength. Together, she said, a tear of happiness trickling down her cheek. Always, he replied, emboldened by the spirit of community that surrounded them. They had weathered the storm, and now they faced a future bursting with potential. As the loud cheers continued to echo in the background, Mia turned to the little girl. You're brave, she said, the words tumbling from her heart, and in that moment, the spark they ignited would resonate far beyond and change the world forever. This is your call to action. You need to subscribe now to catch all the exclusive stories that are coming your way. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm and let everyone know how important this message is. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this message of hope and change. Let us ignite the world together.